officially halfway through the 2020 NFL season. So that means it is time to go ahead and look back and see how the Bears have done so far through the first half of their season and assess the state of the team and kind of talk about what I expect in the second half of the year. So what is going on, y'all? Faiz Sports Talk back at it with another video talking, of course, some NFL, and here to talk about the Bears. So if you're a Bears fan and you're not following me, I don't know why. You should probably, because I'm telling you, you will enjoy the content, the analysis that I bring you. I promise you nobody else can bring you the real raw analysis that I do. So make sure to go ahead and follow me on my social media accounts as well, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. Subscribe on here, hit the bell icon, do all that stuff, guys. Okay, so again, like I mentioned, got a lot to talk about here with regards to the Bears and recapping the first half. Obviously, it feels like the football season is rushed by, and I hate that it goes so quickly, although, you know, we don't mind 2020 flying by because it's obviously been an incredibly difficult year, but I digress. All right, let's get into the video. So the Bears are 5-3 through 8 games. Okay, halfway through the season, they're 5-3, and it's funny. I wanted to go back and just see, you know, how did I do in terms of my game-by-game prediction, you know, when I did the video way back in May, okay? And when I look back, because I know I predicted the Bears to finish with a record of 10-6. That's easy to remember, but I didn't remember exactly which games I had picked the Bears to win and which ones I had picked them to lose. So I did find out what I had in terms of my game-by-game prediction, and I posted it on my Twitter and my Instagram, so you guys can go check that out. Again, links are always in the description, so I always tell you guys follow me on there. I had the Bears going 5-3. I had the Bears going 5-3 through 8 games, and literally I picked every single game right besides 2 games, which I just flip-flopped, okay? So I had the Bears winning against the Lions, the Giants, the Falcons. I had them losing to the Colts, which is what happened. I had them winning against the Bucs. Yes, that's right, I did. I have the receipts. Go check it out on my social media handle. I had them losing to the Panthers, and I had them winning against the Rams, which obviously I got wrong because they beat the Panthers and they lost to the Rams, and then I had them losing to the Saints. So I had them going 5-3 through 8 games, so pretty happy with my accuracy there. Again, not to brag or boast. This is just to show you that I really do work hard at this to give you guys the best analysis, and it's nice to see, obviously, that it pays off. Now, obviously, in my world, I would like to have the Bears be 8-0. I don't even want a loss, but again, I have to be realistic here. So when I'm talking about assessing the state of the team, I'm taking a look back at how the Bears have done so far, and then also talk about where this team is right now, and then where this team is headed. Are they headed upwards? Are they headed downwards? Are they headed, you know, straight in the middle? Let's talk about that, okay? So 5-3, just record-wise, that's solid. All right, obviously it's not 8-0, but it's not 1-7. You know, it's not a really bad record. Anytime you're above 500, that's a plus, right? But the Bears are 5-3, 2 games above 500, and you like that. And let's take a look at the teams, right, that the Bears have won and lost against. They beat the teams that I believe they should have, which is the Lions, Giants, and Falcons, and the Panthers. Again, I didn't predict them, but the Panthers aren't a very good team. We know that, or at least they're not a contender of any sort. The 3 losses have come to playoff caliber teams, and the Colts, the Rams, and the Saints. So I know it's been a lot of doom and gloom here with our last 2 games, and obviously with the loss to the Saints and the Rams, but these are 2 playoff caliber teams. So it's not like you just lost to the Jets. It's not like you just lost to, you know, like the Bengals or something, which is funny enough. The Titans are our next opponent. They lost to the Bengals, but I digress. So point being is, it's not like you lost to those teams. So anyway, there is no shame in losing to playoff caliber teams. And they were, you know, close against the Saints. Obviously, the Rams game was ugly. I don't want to talk about it. So in terms of just the record itself, they have met my expectation. I predicted them to be 5-3. They've beaten the teams they were supposed to, and the games they lost, those were tough teams that they lost to. So I am happy and satisfied there. I know, again, it's been doom and gloom with the offense, and, you know, all we want to talk about is that, and I will address it. But as far as record, I am satisfied with where the Bears are at, maybe even a little bit more than satisfied with where the Bears are at halfway through the season. Second in the division, I get it. We could easily be first. We could easily be first in the conference. But again, we could have easily lost the game to the Lions if DeAndre Swift holds on to the football in the end zone. So you can't do this, give and take game all the time. So I'm happy with the record. You're 5-3. I'm happy. Let's talk about the offense and the defense, right? Again, I don't like to just, throw a bunch of numbers at you guys because anybody can do that. I do like to contextualize things by using numbers, okay? And so when we take a look at the offense, okay, and the major stats with regards to the offense, we know it's been putrid. How putrid, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. We are 29th in total yards per game. That's how many yards per game, again, we're putting up. And the only offenses worse than the Bears in yards per game are the Jets, the Giants, and the Washington football team. Think about that for a second. The only offenses that are worse than the Bears right now are the Jets, Giants, and the Washington football team. 3 of the worst teams in the NFL, period. Like when you think of those 3 teams, you think of the bottom, the cellar of the NFL. And that's where the Bears offense is. And yet we're 5-3. That just goes to show you how dominant our defense has been. And I'll get into that in a second here. But man, it's been bad for the offense. And this is exactly why when I tell you I criticize Matt Nagy, it's because he is supposed to be an offensive genius, an offensive guru. You can't be that when you're putting up these types of numbers. If the Bears were like middle of the pack, 15th, okay, around 17th, around there, fine. I'll take it. But you can't be considered an offensive coach and put up these type of numbers, okay? So that's total yards. In terms of passing yards per game, 22nd in the NFL. In terms of running the football, forget it. I don't know how we're not dead last, but we are close to it, 31st in the NFL. I think the Texans are the only team worse, and they're just like barely points worse than us, okay? Like points worse, okay? And then total points scored per game, we're 27th. So we're bottom 10 in every offensive category that's a legitimate one, okay? And again, this is why I say I harp back to Matt Nagy. You cannot be considered an offensive genius, an offensive guru, if your offense is putting up these putrid types of numbers. And you can no longer hide behind the quarterback of Mitchell Trubisky and using him as a scapegoat, right? You can't hide behind Mitchell Trubisky anymore. You benched him. You got him out the way. And the second you bench Mitchell Trubisky, you made it so that the microscope is on you, Matt Nagy. It's on you, all right? Everybody's looking at you and looking at you to get this offense to produce. With Nick Foles, who is a former Super Bowl MVP, right? So, again, I personally told you guys Nick Foles is an average quarterback, nothing great, but he is who Matt Nagy wanted. So, he got him. But yet the offense is still the exact same. I could make the argument it's actually been worse. So that is why I get on Matt Nagy. And of course, I've gotten on Nick Foles too, because I said this after the Saints game. Nick Foles is not giving you what he and people thought he was going to give you. Let me explain. Nick Foles is giving you the same inaccuracy issues and the same poor decision-making issues that Mitchell Trubisky gave you, but with no mobility. So, he's giving you everything that was bad about Mitch. Oh, and also he can't run. So, if that's the case, what was the point of going to Nick Foles? What has he done since the Falcons game? Like, at that point, you go back to Trubisky because of the fact that at least Trubisky was athletic. At least he was a little bit of a threat with his legs. Not even a little bit. He is a threat with his legs. And defenses have to respect that. So, again, the offense is putrid. They're worse than I thought. I thought the Bears offense, would be decent. Again, I predicted Mitchell Trubisky to start. I thought he would stay the starter, and I thought the Bears offense would be decent. I'm not saying I predicted the Bears offense to be top 10. No, don't get me wrong here. But I was saying, somewhere between the 15th to 20th, around there. But this is bottom of the barrel stuff. This is just embarrassing. So no, I'm obviously the offense is a big downturn from where I expected us to be in terms of the first half of the season. And then as far as defense, real quickly here, obviously our defense has been the best part of our team. The numbers aren't actually as impressive as you would have thought, right? 12th in the NFL in total yards allowed per game, 14th in passing yards per game, 16th in rushing yards per game. So I've told you our rushing defense is obviously worse than our pass defense. 8th in points allowed. And I'm glad you see that it's still not like we're top 5 in every category, because the Bears defense has been bend but don't break all season long. They allow all these yards, but what happens when you get to the red zone against the Bears? 8th in points per game. 8th in points allowed per game. They don't let you score in the red zone. That's the definition of bend but don't break, okay? I love the Bears defense, but the Bears defense suffers because of how putrid our offense is, because they have to be out there so much. They're gassed. They have to be on the field all the damn time. I promise you, if they weren't as gassed and if our offense was even decent, respectable, these numbers would go up to top 5 numbers. That's how good the Bears are. I'm telling you right now, this defense, just talent-wise, is elite. We know that. And numbers-wise, they would be if our offense wasn't so putrid. All right? So defensively, not surprised there. Just want to give you guys the numbers. And the defense has, for me, either met or exceeded the expectations I had going into the season. I told you we were going to have an elite defense, and for the most part, they've, answered that. Okay? So offensively, it's been an absolute mess. Defensively, expected it, and they've exceeded it to a certain level. In terms of the second half of the year, let's talk about that. In terms of looking at the second half of the season, we've got a lot of divisional games, folks, all right? We've got 2 games against the Packers, 2 games against the Vikings. We got another game against the Lions. That's 5 out of our remaining 8 games against divisional opponents. The non-divisional games, you got the Titans at Tennessee, you got against Houston at home, and then Jacksonville in Jacksonville, all right? The Jaguars in Jacksonville. The only game on here that's a easy win, given win, I should say, is the Jaguars, all right? So if you take that, that's your easy victory. But other than that, there are no pushovers on the rest of the schedule. And I have the Bears going 10-6. So again, to muster up another 5 games, you might be thinking that's difficult. But again, let's see what happens here. Obviously, the Vikings looked way better. People might have been thinking, that's a free 2 games for the Bears. Maybe not. Divisional games are always tricky, folks. Remember that. Remember that whenever you are deciding on who's going to win a divisional game, don't always assume that, just because one team is better than the other record-wise. We just saw the Vikings beat the Packers. The Raiders beat the Chiefs. Divisional games are tricky because divisional opponents know you better than any other team, any other a team out of your division. And so they know your tendencies. They know what you like to do. And so those games end up being tricky. And that's why I'm saying you've got 5 out of your remaining 8 games as divisional games. So as far as how the Bears will do, I'm sticking with my prediction of 10-6. I can see the Bears obviously beating the Jaguars. I can see them beating the Texans. That will get you to 7 games. I can see them beating the Vikings. That's 8 games. If you want to give both the Vikings victories to us, that would be 9 games. And then, maybe 1 Green Bay game. Or if you don't want to give the Green Bay game, you got another Detroit game. That takes you to 10 right there. So, again, I'm sticking with my prediction of 10-6. But in terms of where this team is headed, up or down, I think this team is trending a little bit south more so than up. I'm not going to say it's a downward slope. I am going to say it's like, kind of in the middle, heading towards down because of one thing and one thing only. The quarterback situation in regards to the offense, all right? If Nick Foles does not stop turning the ball over, this is going to be absolutely disastrous for the Bears because regardless of who was the quarterback, the most important thing for the Bears was going to be to not turn the football over. We're already, going with a quarterback that's not going to obviously put up elite numbers and give you multiple touchdowns a game. The least you can do if you're Nick Foles or Mitchell Trubisky, or in this case, Nick Foles, since he is the quarterback as of right now, is not to turn the football over. The Bears have a special chance, folks. They have a special chance to be the 2018 Eagles, the 2016 Broncos, which is built off of your defense, be able to not make turnovers, milk the clock, run the football, and play smart. That's the formula here to win a Super Bowl. And I'm telling you right now, the Bears have an outside shot to win the Super Bowl. I'm not picking them to win the Super Bowl. But can they do it? Can they do it if they get hot? Absolutely. They can. I'm telling you, the formula with this team, it sounds crazy. It's run the football. Don't turn the ball over. Milk the clock so the other team stays off the field if you're going up against a top-tier quarterback, and obviously rely on your defense. The problem right now is your quarterback is turning the football over way too much. Nick Foles is throwing a pick in every single game. And your head coach / offensive coordinator, his play calling has been subpar, to say the least. So those two things need to change, or this Bears team is going to be trending downwards. Right now, I'm going to say that right about even. You got a matchup against the Tennessee Titans coming up. They could definitely lose that. But then after that, the schedule does lighten up. And we're not facing any elite defenses in the backhand of our schedule. There is no elite defense. The Packers don't have an elite defense. The Vikings don't. The Titans don't. The Texans don't, the Jaguars don't. There's no elite defense in the back half of our schedule, so that's another good thing. So again, I'm going to say this team is trending right in the middle, but depending on how the quarterback and the offense go, it's either going to go up or down, okay? So that's where I'm at assessing this roster. I'm going to have a ton of more content here for you guys in terms of how I believe the Bears have done so far through halfway through the season. But 5-3, what I predicted, I can't complain much. We still have a shot easily to get to 10-6 and to go ahead and get to the playoffs. So let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree. As always, thanks for watching.